bagel.
Bagel.
A bagel.
A bagel.
A bagel.
Bagel.
It's time once again for Beat A Bagel. So on today's episode of Beat A Bagel, I had to talk about the water.
Clear water.
Because no matter who you talk to about bagels, there's something about the water. If it's not a New York bagel with New York water, it's not a bagel. People from Montreal would probably disagree with that because they feel their bagels are better than the New York bagel, but they still use some kind of water. So no matter what you do, you can't get away from the water. So today I decided to bring in a guest host who's going to tell us all about water, and we're going to do a whole bunch of water testing. And this here you have is Mr. Mark Granger.
Hi everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be on Beat A Bagel.
Good, that's good. I'm glad you practiced that before you came over.
Years. I've been practicing my entire life.
Okay, good. This is good. So, have you had bagels before?
Yes, but I gotta tell you, I'm not a bagel connoisseur. I don't have your level of expertise. I didn't grow up in New York.
All right, I got you, New York. So, where did you have a bagel from?
I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania. And now the Western Pennsylvania version of a bagel is probably more similar to a pizza ball than a bagel. So, I don't want to like blaspheme bagel stuff here today.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay. So, all right. So what you have here is a New Yorker that has eaten probably over 10,000 bagels without even blinking.
All right.
So, the whole Beat A Bagel show is about basically trying to find who makes a great bagel that's close to the New York style that I know from childhood.
It's a quest for you then.
It's definitely a quest, and there's so many places to try, and there's new places popping up, and it's terrific. So, but I always wanted to do an episode about the water.
All right.
So, all right. So, because you're a watershed guy, and
Yeah, so my background, why I was invited on today, I'm guessing, is because I do a lot of stream studies with Montgomery County Public School students. So we test stream water for a healthy stream habitat, whether fish, whether macroinvertebrates, whether living things can live in a stream, which is different than a healthy stream habitat is actually different water than is it good drinkable water for a person. Because we might not want bacteria in our water, but there might be some species that really like certain bacteria. But there are definite standards by which we test water in a bunch of different ways.
okay. So, you test it for phosphates and turbidity and...
Yep, turbidity, clarity, dissolved oxygen, nitrates, phosphates, pH, and we'll do things like temperature also, just because that's what scientists do when they try to gather information about a habitat.
All right. So I'm really glad you brought up the pH
yes.
piece. Yep, this is where we might as well just get into it and get nice and dirty. So I have 3 different bottles of water here. Okay, and basically, episode 3 will be coming up soon after we roll it out, and I actually made bagels at home because I wanted to see what would happen with the water. I wanted to see what would happen because, after going to all these places, I just wasn't finding that special New York bagel magic.
Did you truck in water from New York City to make bagels at home?
No, but there are places that do that. I think Goldberg's, if I'm not mistaken, one of them, I think they actually do that. I think they actually use the water, or they have the bagels pre-formed and they heat them up here. But there are places that do that. There's a place in Florida, I don't remember the name of it, but they actually get water trucked in from New York to Florida because I guess Florida has a ton of fluoride in their water or whatever it is, and I don't know which fluoride it is, if it's the good fluoride or the bad fluoride. I never figured that one out. But yes, that is not totally implausible.
All right.
So with the water we have here, basically what I wanted to do was find something that was similar to the water in the Catskills. So the New York water comes from basically Delaware, Croton on the Hudson, which is, upstate New York, and the Catskill reservoirs. So you've got all this water with a ton of mineral content.
Right.
And it travels, and
Right.
because you're a watershed guy, and it goes like hundreds of miles.
Downhill.
Right. So picks up all of these things along the way, and we could figure out what some of those are later. But then the water makes a pit stop somewhere in several reservoirs. Then it's treated, probably with chlorine and
Possibly fluoride again.
fluoride,
Yeah.
and a couple of other good things. And what's interesting is I know after they treat the water, they try to get the pH up to 7 or 7.2.
Yeah, so there's reasons for that. Like,
Okay.
if I ask my 4th and 5th graders where they get their water from, they all say from the sink, or like from the faucet. Like, and a lot of adults are really probably uncertain about where they get their water from.
Mm-hmm.
And the shorter answer is we get it from our environment. And it can't be that far away because we're not going to want to pipe water from thousands and thousands of miles away to get it to where people need it. So it's a relatively local environment. In this case, for New York City, it's the Catskills, uphill, right?
Right.
And to make it so that we can drink it safely, it's got to be treated. And they'll do things like take out all the solids, they'll take out all the bacteria, they'll disinfect it. In some cases, they'll add things like fluoride. And I didn't know it was like cholesterol. There's good fluoride and bad fluoride. I had no idea.
I know.
But they'll also, when the systems are working well, they'll also make sure it's safe to drink and like heavy metals are taken out and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. In some cases, that doesn't always work. But our big bottled water suppliers like Coke and Pepsi, they really do just take water from some tap system and put it into bottles.
Right.
They take city water and bill it as bottled water.
Right, and Poland Spring, what it means to be from Maine, and I think the springs dried up or something. Something like that.
So I noticed you got a Nestle product on here too. I'm not going to say which one, but yeah, there are a lot
Nestle
of big
product.
water. Yeah, there are a lot of big companies that are taking actual spring water, not just city water or tap water.
It's from an aquifer.
From an aquifer,
Okay.
from the springs, and
Right,
if it's from spring water, then it's going to have the minerals that are local to that spring in it as well.
Right.
And that could be different all around the world. If you want to get to your basic pure water that is nothing but water, no minerals, I bet this would have zero taste, zero color, and probably the least impact on bagel bakery. It would be distilled water, which is nothing but H2O.
Right.
Period. No minerals thrown in, and it would have a pH of 7.0. The reason they add some stuff to raise the pH on its way is to keep the acidic levels from degrading the pipes further on its way to its destination.
And we know those pipes are in need of repair.
Some are older than others.
Right, trying to get rid of all the lead ones and then replacing the copper ones, and then there's PVC ones, and there's an article I actually read on that about how they're trying to replace, like I'm talking thousands of feet of pipe.
Yeah.
Thousands.
A couple centuries ago, we didn't think about delivering water to our homes in lead pipes.
Right.
And actually, as early as a couple years ago, they didn't really consider that in Flint, Michigan either, because they tried to save some bucks.
Ouch.
Yeah. But in any case, I digress. We're looking at how water actually impacts the taste of bagels.
Right. I mean, yes. Ultimately, if people are saying New York water, New York water, New York water, there's got to be something in it. All right. And I just want to also point out that there are articles that do talk about you can't blame everything on the water. You can blame it on the ingredients, like you have to use a very high gluten flour. Okay, a bagel has to be boiled, or the term is kettled, because after you form the bagel, you drop it in the water, and then it like pre-gelatinizes the gluten on the inside.
Is it like donuts in oil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Except that's fine, but what's happening is the water gets in the bagel, and I guess it helps the gluten, spread out. And then what they do is after they drop it in somewhere between 30 seconds and 3 minutes, they put it out on the side, and then they put them on boards, actual wooden boards that have been soaked, kind of like the way you would soak a salmon plank board.
Okay, yeah.
All right, and what they do is they put burlap on it, on the top, because what they don't want the board flavor. Like when you're making salmon, you want the cedar flavor.
That's where I was going. Like, do different boards result in different flavors? Like, different water will result in different flavors?
They could, but they're supposed to have burlap on them. So the burlap is that barrier that prevents the wood flavor from getting.
You know where I'm going to go though.
What?
Does different burlap have different flavors?
I knew you.
Yeah,
I knew you were going to say that. But
the more variables you add into the process. Okay, we're testing burlap next week.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome.
So, and you'll see on future episodes of Beat A Bagel how I actually bought some custom boards from Breadtopia, I think was the company. We bought them, and so all right. So the whole bagel thing, obviously, everything that you do in the process is going to affect the outcome of the product. You know, like in education, everything is process and product, right?
All right.
So, so after they put them on the boards, what the idea is, you want to, an oven is a drying out process. So what they want to do is that you want the water in the bagel to expand the bagel, but then you want to dry it up because you don't want to eat water. Uh-huh. So they put them on the board, and after so many minutes of cooking, they do the flip. And it's sort of like caramelizing the crust on the outside.
All right.
Okay, and then you take them out, you let them cool down, and voila, you have your beautiful New York bagel. Okay, so assuming that everybody does some form of, creating like a starter, and then using high gluten flour, and then boiling the bagel, and then putting them on the boards in the oven. We're assuming a lot of places do that. They may not do that. You know what a bialy is?
I have no idea what a bialy is.
Okay, so we'll show you a picture of that later. But a bialy basically is
like a Biafra?
No, it's
Jello?
This is from Poland. This is
okay.
where a lot of people believe that the bagels came from. Although I read an article that somebody said it's from Italy, but that doesn't make any sense to me because it's basically a brown bread with a hole in it. So a bialy is same bagel dough, and what they put an indentation in the middle, and then they put like dehydrated onion and poppy seed in it, but they bake it, and it has a lot of flour on it. So it doesn't puff up like a bagel. Because remember, and we're not talking about a bigger, fluffy bagel is better. I can't stand big, fluffy bagels. I like bagels that have a decent size, 1 inch kind of, thickness. Not some places think, if I make this overly inflated thing. No. It's about the flavor. Okay. And the other thing I didn't mention is the malt. Okay. In other words.
What's our malt?
So barley malt.
Oh, I'm familiar with that.
Right.
Okay.
So New York traditional bagels have some form of barley malt in it, or some bakers use diastatic malt. Okay, it's a powder.
Okay.
All right. That's kind of technical, but the fact is when you drop them in the water, what's in that water? Okay, and for me, what I always remembered is more malt and water, or some places will do like baking soda, like when they make pretzels, you put baking soda and water. Okay, but that malt's got to be there because that sugar, the yeast needs sugar, gets sugar from the gluten, and it gets sugar from that, and by the time you proof the bagels and you let them develop, you've got a lot of things working in your favor. You've got this great flour taste, you've got yeast developed, you've got the poulish, it's a starter, which creates more of the sourdough thing, and then you have the malt, which gives you that sweet thing. Some places they don't use malt, they use brown sugar. What's in brown sugar?
Molasses.
There you go.
Ah, that's
okay.
malt. That's a malt sort of thing. I had no idea bagels were this complicated.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Good bagels are.
Yes, yeah, and it's
there are
worth
probably
it.
shortcuts in the supermarkets chain.
Yes, in mass production.
Yeah.
Whether they use malt or not, I don't know. That's the other part. And I've had bagels where I can taste, sweet and sourdough and yeast, and then other bagels where, and you're going to try 2 bagels today. So we're doing a lot of talking, but you will be trying them, and you should have that magical epiphany of at least, wow, there's something different here. So let's get back to our science stuff.
Back to water.
Yes, because that's why we called you in and we had you shipped in from very far away.
Yeah.
All right.
From my fortress of solitude.
Yes, exactly. And all right, so wonder if we should just go into some testing right now. Before I do that, I did buy this cool little 16-in-1 water test kit. Voila. And because this is right up Mark's alley, it's going to have a chart and a bunch of minerals. So the thing is that what minerals do you think we should we should focus upon today? I mean, definitely calcium.
Yeah, so
Magnesium.
more like the baking stuff, I guess. Like when we talk about stream health, we talk about not so much the minerals, but we do. Ooh, the USGS does test for conductivity, a general conductivity. How many metals are basically in the water?
Right.
The more metals, the more conductive the water is. Pure water doesn't conduct electricity at all.
Right.
So I'm guessing any minerals in here might have some sort of impact on flavor. And I'm guessing the pH might tell us what other minerals were added to either raise or lower the pH of the water on its way to its destination as well.
Right. So you know that bagels have to have salt in them. So the other argument is the high the salt, the salinization levels, and the softer water definitely give the bagel the chewier texture.
Chewy.
Okay, because remember, if it's got the thing about the upstate water, low amounts of lime in it.
All right.
And that's what lime makes it a harder water. But since there's less of that and there's more salt in it, it's a softer water, which makes a chewier bagel. But what everybody wants is the texture of beautiful,
Crispy
gorgeous.
outside.
Yeah,
Crispy
they want that
outside, chewy center.
caramelized. They want crunch, fluff, crunch.
All right.
With that je ne sais quoi of barley malt, yeast, overdeveloped yeast, and but the texture you want the outside you want that crunch, you want the fluff, you want the chew, and you want the crunch.
I want it all. I want crunch. I want tough. Yeah, I want it all.
No, you want your teeth.
I want my teeth.
You want your teeth.
Crunch,
Okay.
fluff, chew.
So
Got it.
let's we'll check out let's see where this goes, and all right, and in a few minutes we're going to set up right now for our water testing.
A bagel.
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 Bagel.